Welcome to the Celebration of You. I'm your host, Holly Dowling. I'm thrilled to share with you incredible people from all over the world who are living and leading extraordinary lives. From overcoming immense adversity to discovering the secret sauce to leading with courage and grace. Their stories are going to bring you hope and inspiration. Now, let the stories begin. Welcome, everybody, to the Celebration of You. And for all of you out there who I'm so grateful, listening to the show from all over the world, all women and men and children, and the list could go on. I just thank you because it's for people like you that hear stories that truly make a difference in your life. And I really, really, really love it when you send messages at the website, hollydowling.com, when you leave messages on iTunes, wherever that is. Please continue to let us know when there is a story that really impacts you. And today's story, this is really fun for me because I actually will probably get emotional before I even get to highlighting this person, because I believe that there's times in our life when we truly trust the process, trust our soul's highest calling. And when we really do that, and we are open to what is God's plan for me. And I say that because there isn't a day, no matter where I am in the world, that before I go, big group, small group, it doesn't matter. I'm always in prayer asking to be a messenger. And if there's somebody's life that can be impacted. All of this leads up to the most beautiful woman who I get the honor of introducing you to and having her on the show. Out of the blue, I received a letter from her about 2 weeks ago. That was one of those moments that I said, I looked up to God and I said, thank you for the gift of knowing that over a year ago, somebody's life could be impacted for the better. So on that note, that's all I'm going to say because I get really emotional. May I introduce you all to my newest, dearest friend from Bentonville, Arkansas, Amanda Hinds. Welcome, my love.
Hi there. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you have no idea. You had no idea when you sent me that letter that I would then have you on the show, did you?
I did not at all. I just knew I was supposed to send you that letter. I knew it.
Oh, well, that day I opened up that letter and, let's just talk about it because this really is why I am just so excited to celebrate you, Amanda, because I had no idea your passion and what you're doing and how that day really helped catapult. So talk to us. Tell us what you're currently doing. You are a teacher. Tell us all about your current life, and then we'll go to the story behind the story. Okay?
Okay. Well, I've been a teacher for 15 years, and it was the start of my 14th year that I sat in the audience and I heard you speak. And for a long time, basically probably from the beginning of my teaching career, I've had a desire to help teen girls. And that's basically what I said. I just want to help teen girls. When people would say, what do you love about teaching? I'm like, I love just talking to these girls and helping them. And so I sat in the audience and for prior to that, I had been trying to determine what is it I really want to pursue in this last half of my teaching career, because I've got about 28 years in the education system. And so it was year 14. I was like, what can I really do to help? And so I sat in the audience and you talked about what is it you love about teaching? And I wrote, I love helping teen girls. But that just wasn't enough. And so I added, I love helping teen girls develop confidence. And that had been stirring in my heart for a while. And so I had this idea of starting this club that incorporated wellness and beauty and character. And I mentioned it to my husband and he said, yeah, that sounds great. Do you have time? And I said, I think I have time. So I started so nervous. I started this little club for girls and I had about 8 girls and I loved it, but I was nervous. You know, every time I got before him, I was nervous. And so the club just progressed. And within the first few months, I went from 8 girls to about 16. And then I went from 16 to, I ended the year with about 20, 25 girls. And then this year, I started again with much more confidence myself. And the purpose was to develop confidence with girls. And so it's interesting how my own confidence grew. And so the second year, the first meeting, I thought if just one girl shows up, I'll still have club. And I had over 30 girls. And how, in my last meeting, I had 50 girls show up.
50? 50?
50. 50. So it's just amazing. And these girls just keep coming and they listen. It's amazing.
I am sitting here, as always, you know me. I get a smile, my eyes are closed, and I'm covered in goosies, of course, because Amanda, you know, when I read the letter and how that day catapulted you into fulfilling a passion of yours and stepping out of fear with faith, right, to do it, look at the confirmation that what you're doing, it's viral, it's making a difference. 50 girls. I hope the listeners realize that literally this wasn't even 2 years ago. This was about a year and a half ago. It was August, right?
Yes.
So take us back to, all right, I love this so much. Take us back to what was the first thing you did. So for anybody listening, Amanda, that wants to know, maybe they're not a teacher, but they have a passion to help young girls or young boys, right? Whatever that yearning passion is. What was the first thing you did to get the ball rolling? Tell us about that.
Well, the first thing I did was I asked the question, what would I do if I wasn't afraid? And I knew I would start this club. I would help teen girls. I would incorporate things that they were interested in. And then I would put the things that they needed to hear into it. So girls are interested in makeup and they're interested in exercise. And so I took those and I put them together and I said, I'm going to have lessons where I'm going to give them words of wisdom and I'm going to give them tips on how to develop confidence, and they're going to have fun in the process. So, but it was asking and answering the question, what would you do if you weren't afraid?
And you did it. And then how did you advertise this? Tell me how you started to let people know about this. And by the way, the name of it, I love. Can you tell everybody the name? Because I just love it.
The name is Muscles and Makeup, Developing Confidence from the Inside Out.
Oh, there's just something about those two words, muscles and makeup, right? Oh, I love that.
Strong and, you know, taking your natural beauty. And so oddly enough, when I first started, I initially thought it would be small. I thought it would be like a mentor program where I had just a few girls, mainly because I am not big on being in front of a bunch of people. I know I'm a teacher, but I guess you could say I'm shy almost. It's not something that I want as the center of attention. So I thought I'll keep this small, just a few girls. So I handpicked some girls that I thought I could help. And that's how I started. Well, then they started talking to their friends about it. And then their friends just started showing up. and then it got to where, like, I had 16 girls and I was still hand inviting these girls every week because they had to have a pass to attend. And so instead of handwriting the passes, I just said, you know what, I'll just announce it on the intercom, which the first time scared me because I try to keep to myself. I don't put myself out there. And to say Muscles and Makeup is meeting in Mrs. Hinds' room was just a lot for me. And so I did it. And then oddly enough, I had all these girls who I'd never seen before show up. And I thought, this is interesting. And then this year, I put out a few signs. I didn't say a word to anyone. I just put out signs and they came. It was awesome.
You know what I'm hearing coming through me loud and clear? You know, the wonderful, beautiful story from the Bible, build it and they will come. And when you listened, you allowed your spirit to lead the way, and you realize the difference you're making is far beyond what Amanda ever imagined. But that's usually how things happen, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely right.
Okay, so now you have to tell me. Okay, so now I'm so excited. All right, so what does it look like when and how often do you have these? And what does it look like? What are they doing? Like, are you literally having them bring their makeup? Are you getting a sponsor to provide the makeup? Talk to us about what this looks like. Yeah.
First off, I'm going to start by saying that it's built on three things. And the first one is confidence, being a feeling and a belief that can be developed through actions that are based on good character. And then beauty is a skill that can be attained through practice. And then exercise is just an essential part of our well-being. And so that's kind of the core values. And so we meet once a week during what we call our club time, where, you know, we try to get kids involved in clubs. And so we have about 35 minutes one day a week where we can do that. And that's built into our schedule, which is amazing that our school administrators do that for us. But it really gets the kids involved. And some kids will say, I only came to school today because I had club.
Really? Oh, I love that.
They'll sit through all their classes and then they'll go to club. And so because it's so big, I had to incorporate 3 different locations. So we've got the library, and that's where I do my lessons, my character lessons, and tips on how to develop your own confidence. What does that look like? And so any girl can come to those, and those are usually packed. That's where I typically get the most girls. And then we have exercise days where we will actually do little workouts, and there's no equipment needed. We play some music, and I try to teach them different things that they can do at home on their own and don't need any money for. And we do, initially, I started it with the makeup because I know how to make makeup. And I thought, well, we could just make makeup. It's science.
Did you just say you know how to make makeup? Hold on a second.
I do. I know. That's crazy.
Wait. You just stopped me. Like, I was sitting here just smiling with my eyes closed. And I'm like, did you just say you can make makeup? Hold on a second. All right. So you've got these girls making makeup. How is that possible?
Well, I was able to go to what's called a vendor sale, and they sold like makeup and different things. And I asked, I said, what do you do with the leftover makeup? And they said, well, we donate. I said, oh, I have this club. And the girl said, well, I probably have some nail polish. Call me in a week. So I called her in a week, and she said, I've got a box ready for you. Come get it. And this is a Friday. And I said, well, I won't be there until Monday. Is that okay? And she said, yeah, that's okay. She said, I was able to get you mascara and nail polish. And I said, awesome. So Monday morning, I'm praying, and I said, God, I need mirrors. I got mascara, but how am I going to teach these girls how to put it on? I need mirrors. So I go pick up the box, and she says, I put some other stuff in there for you. I have these cute little mirrors. I gave you enough for every girl. And I said, you what? She said, I gave you some mirrors. And I had just prayed that morning for mirrors. It was just like, oh my goodness, this was another confirmation. So I had to share that with you.
I love that. And just so you know, I had to push my record button because I knew this story was going to be good. Yes. But you see, the point of that story you just came alive was the reality is you just prayed about it, and then everything came into place in ways you could not have even planned.
Absolutely.
Right?
It takes a little bit of know-how. And I have a book that I bought called Make It Up, and it's by this amazing blogger who just knows how to do this. And so I learned from reading this book and just from practicing. And so that was like what we did the first year. We actually made blush, and we made like mineral blush, and we made lipstick that was amazing. And this year I'm getting ready to do the first blush, but with it, I've kind of turned it into more of a beauty. So we look at skincare, and we actually make masks. We made face masks, and then we talked about how to take care of our skin. And then we also did, I think what else have we done? We did a scrub, like a little exfoliating skin scrub. We did bath bombs. Kids love bath bombs. So then we talked about stress and how to handle stress. And I'm like, these little girls have stress. They might be junior high age, but they have stress, and they need to learn techniques on how to handle that before they become an adult and go crazy sometimes. And so we talked about stress and bath bombs, or we called them bath fizzies. I'm sorry, they were bath fizzies. And
this is amazing. I am just sitting here in awe that not only have you started a club, you have actually helped. I mean, think about the empowerment that you're giving these young girls, that they can actually go make their own makeup and skincare, so that, it sounds like everything you're doing, you're just not going to believe this, because there is something in my past that is so aligned with what you're doing. And I don't think anybody knows this, but years and years ago, Amanda, and the reason I'm going there is because it's just bringing back this amazing memory. I had a passion to help women that were coming out. I mean, I recently, not so long ago, shared a very dark part of my past, but I wanted to help women that were coming out of starting over, coming out of domestic abuse, coming out of shelters, right? Like the transition. And I called it, I would actually go into these homes and help have women in a shoebox. It was makeup on a shoestring in a shoebox, and help them figure out how to get great clothes, start taking care of themselves, and have confidence to get back out there in the workforce. So these were for, not the young girls like you're talking about, but I'm picturing the shoestring and the shoebox, because you're teaching them how to do that, right?
Absolutely.
Oh.
I have gotten donations as well, which has kind of brought in more of the application part. Like, how do you apply this? What's the difference between a natural looking face versus a face without makeup, and how makeup is supposed to enhance. So it's amazing.
I am in awe. All right. So here's the deal. So you've done this. We're now at 50 girls are showing up. You're having to find more space. I just want every person listening to know it is never too late to follow your passion, and to know that even Amanda, the fact that you were even afraid, you had to ask yourself, what would I do if I wasn't afraid? So this makes me, I'm very curious. Take us back. Was there a pivotal moment when you were a young girl, or something in those younger years? Maybe it was something a pivotal moment. Maybe it was adversity. I don't know what it was, but that was really the core passion as to why you have this desire to help young women with confidence. Is there something that you experienced?
There's a couple of things that have resonated with me. And I would say one of them is when I was a little girl, I was in an experience where we were swimming, and I didn't know how to swim. I was young. I was probably 4 or 5 years old. And I wanted to go down the water slide. And I was a pretty bold, strong little girl. And I asked my mom, I said, Mom, can you help me go down the water slide? And she said, yes. And I said, will my head go under? Because I was terrified of my head going underwater. She said, I'll catch you. So I marched up there, and I remember sitting at the top being so proud of myself. And I go down the slide. Well, at the time that I left the top of the slide, my little sister started screaming. And my mom, who's very concerned, turns to the sound of the scream. And at that same moment, I go under the water. And I remember just terror, being terrified and really being afraid. Like, I cannot remember a time before that I was ever afraid. And I wasn't, near drowning or anything like that. It wasn't that crazy. But for me, my little mind, I was so afraid. I came up, my mom hugged me, she got me out of the water, but I had a fear of water. And I also developed a stuttering problem.
Because of that incident?
I had a speech problem. And so growing up with this stuttering problem, I conquered the fear of water. I was 12 at that time when I conquered that fear, but I still had this speech problem. And I can remember being afraid of sometimes even speaking, because I didn't want to say the words incorrectly. And so I would sometimes just not speak. People would look at me like, what's the matter with you? The cat got your tongue? And I would just stare. I wouldn't speak. And there were other times that I knew I had to talk, and so I would. So that was one thing. Coupled with, I was a perfectionist growing up. And I remember being a young girl having some unrealistic expectations for myself. Like, I put them on myself. And and having that perfectionistic thinking it just kind of led me down to develop a habit of negative self-talk. And this was, I can remember being in my early teens, and I had this habit of negative self-talk because I had unrealistic expectations for myself. And it just kind of, as I went through my teen years, I developed some low self-esteem issues. I developed lack of confidence. And there were some areas where I was exceptionally confident in athletics. But then there were other areas that I just had no confidence. And I remember the pain of that. And I think that's one of the reasons why, as a teacher, I've always wanted to help girls to not have to face that. And so that's kind of, I think, what put that in.
Yes. And thank you for being just so authentic and real and sharing that, because typically, right, there's always the story behind our story. And I think there isn't a human being out there that, when we're willing to tap into what's really nudging our soul, the passion, there's typically something it's linked to. right? Like there's something that we've either been impacted by or whatever that is, an experience that has always been, I call it the butterflies on the shoulder, right? That's constantly been living there, nudging you. And to think that I love that you, and I didn't realize that at 14 years, halfway through your teaching career, you have decided to finally take this step and go after this passion. And for you to realize, and I'm sure you've shared this story with all these girls, how many young girls today, and you see this more than anybody in the education system, talk about lack of confidence because we have so much being thrown at us, right? All the social media, I mean, everything. So, I'm just in awe of what you're doing. And now, and I have to share with everybody the other thing you did for me that just, I mean, this letter is, I already have it in a plastic think cover, because what you don't realize, Amanda, is that one of the greatest gifts that I love is when people take the time to write a letter, even a handwritten letter. I save them from my children, right? Over the years. But when you took the time to send this and then you articulated everything you're doing and you put it on purple paper.
Yeah. I had to.
I love that because a lot of people don't know that story that I shared with all of you about going after my dream job to be a cruise director. And I did the hot pink. So when you put that in there, and by the way, I had to do this, I was like, I love you even more. And so talk to us about what I would love to know is what can I, Holly, and any listeners do? What pieces of wisdom, what have you gained from this last year and a half from doing this? What would you love to bestow and share with us? Any heartfelt wisdom, Amanda, from this experience?
Well, I think the first thing is this has helped me and grow. This has grown my confidence, and me stepping out to try to help these girls has helped me become more confident because I know why, and because I know the why, I can overcome the hows, which would be, facing those fears. And as far as what wisdom, just keep at it, keep pushing. Whatever it is that is on your heart for a reason. And one of the things that I have prayed for myself is, God, whatever you want me to do, let it burn on my heart until I cannot stop, until I have to do something about it. And if I have an idea or a thought and it's not of you, then help me forget about it. And so whatever it is that the listeners might be facing or a dream that they have to pursue, start somewhere and do it to the best of your ability. It's the idea of doing the best that you can with what you have, where you are.
And you know what I love is that you took a moment, and sometimes it just takes like sitting in an audience and hearing like that moment of that day. But whatever it takes, we usually get the nudge, and are we willing to listen and hear it loud and clear? And then you just didn't let anything stop you. And the coolest thing about this story is I truly believe that all of the things become aligned, right? Like the minute you just said, I'm doing it, and you just handpicked girls, little did you know that then all of a sudden they'd be bringing their friends, or there'd be 20 girls and then 30 and now 50 girls. So I'm offering you two things because I am so in awe of what you're doing. This is, to me, the greatest gift we can give the world is following our highest calling, is that if there's ever an opportunity that I can come back to Bentonville, let's fill the auditorium with those young girls let's get as many as we can. And let's do a celebration. Of course I had to say celebrate. It's the name of the show, Amanda.
No, that would be awesome. Would love that.
Let's make it happen. And I am going to be there to support you. And I just love this so much. And I know you've listened to the show, so I typically like to wrap it up and end with, I always love to know, what advice would you give your younger self? And many times I'll ask the 25-year-old self, but for some reason I'm being nudged to ask. And I don't know what age you were going down the slide and that moment of your life that was really quite pivotal. But what advice could you give that young girl today, based on who you are and what you know, if you were to give her some advice going back to that moment?
I have thought about this because I was actually expecting this question.
No, really?
But I'm glad, because I feel like I can sit here and honestly say what I'm about to say is totally from my heart. I love quotes. Okay. And so I'm going to give you two quotes, and then I'm going to give you two of my own personal thoughts. The first one is a quote by St. Augustine of Hippo. And he said, "Find satisfaction in him who made you. And only then find satisfaction in yourself as part of his creation." The second quote that I would tell my younger self is by Helen Keller. And she said, "Face your deficiencies and acknowledge them, but do not let them master you. Let them teach you patience, insight, and sweetness." My own words are to forgive yourself and give yourself permission to be awkward. There is always a learning curve. And the last thing I would tell my younger self, which is something I strive for daily, is to follow God's will for your heart and your life, because he is the source of your life.
That was probably one of the most beautiful pieces of wisdom, advice, quotes I think I've ever been given from a guest on this show. Thank you. I feel it is an honor and a privilege to know you and to have you share from your heart. And I know that you told me at the beginning, you've never done something like this, right? And do you see the peace that passes all understanding that just went right through the phone line?
I do.
And you were supposed to share this, and there's going to be many people, and who knows what parts of the world, Amanda, that will be inspired to go finally step out of fear and into faith and do what that nudges. And I have to ask you, do you have my book? Because if you don't, I'm sending it to you as soon as we hang up. I'm going to get your address.
I would love your book.
I'm sending you my book because one of my favorite isms, my favorite inspirations, and it just keeps coming to me, especially for these young girls. And it's what I battled for many, many years. But when I finally let go and realized you don't have to be perfect to be priceless.
You are absolutely correct.
Well, and it just sums up everything you've just said and all that you're doing. And I love that you said it's okay to be awkward. And that's what I love. It's like it's our unique stamp on this world. And so you don't have to be perfect to be priceless. So thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing your time. And please, I mean this, let me know as soon as I can come do anything to support you, because I believe in you and I want to do anything we can to support what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Holly, for having me. This has been amazing.
Well, you are a gift, and get ready for a great rest of the week. All right, my love?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for joining me for another awesome celebration of you. If you were inspired by this story, please share it with your family and friends and hashtag Your Story Matters. I'd love to hear from you, so please leave a comment on iTunes. And absolutely, please come to my website, hollydowling.com. Leave a comment there too, and while you're there, pick up your free gift. Most importantly, though, just remember that your life is a gift from God. What you do with it is your gift back.